Perfect. Once again, welcome to the Parley, Real People, Real Talk. Thank you again, Mr. Thomas Holtmann, aka Gong Fu Dog, for doing this again. We did this once before. It didn't work out, but we're doing it again. Again, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure.
So let's continue where we left off. I just want to quickly go over again. I don't want to stress. By the way, thank you for this beautiful T-shirt. I really enjoy this.
Good, brother.
Hey, man, I'm going to work out so I can sport it and look good and post that shit online. I'll send you one of mine. We'll have to give me the address, mailing address after this. So,
thank you, brother.
First off, one of the things that attracted me to you, and I want to go over this again, is your background in traditional martial arts and the fact that you've never rejected it or left it behind, that you attribute your skill sets to them, which I think is fantastic to hear, and I think it's huge. Can you speak to us a little bit about your traditional background?
Sure. I mean, like most people, I think I started practicing martial arts with judo, which is very common in Germany. Most people start with judo, I did that for like 10 years, but like I was missing the punching and the kicking, you know what I mean? So I thought traditional Chinese martial arts, Kung Fu, that would be really cool, So a friend of mine, he was training Kung Fu. I was visiting the school, and I was hooked, man. That was it. I wanted to train that. So that was 7-star praying mantis, northern style. Teaching Tang Chuan. And as a matter of fact, I started to study Chinese language. I got a master's degree in Chinese language, Chinese history, and Chinese literature and philosophy. So I went to China, studied there. I lived in Shanghai. When I was in Shanghai, I studied Xing Yi Quan and Bao Zhang. And but I just did that on basic level, I would say, because I was just there for 1 year. You know what I'm saying? So my main roots inside traditional Chinese martial arts is 7-star praying mantis Kung Fu. And I started with the Hong Kong branch. We differ between mainland and Hong Kong branch. It's a little bit different. Like in Jeet Kune Do, you get different branches. It looks a little bit different. So I did that for 10 years, the Hong Kong branch, and then I met my actual Shifu, and that was it. That was exactly what I wanted to learn. All my questions were answered, so, and since that day, I'm training daily,
And what was your experience when you went and traveled? Because like we mentioned before, I want to re-stress some of the key points from our last one, because I think we had some great conversation, is the importance of really immersing yourself in the culture and understanding where it came from and what comes with it.
Yes. I think it's very important to understand, whenever you learn a martial art, it's very important to understand how the culture works and how the people are thinking. Like in Chinese, you know that from the Kung Fu movies, we all know this little Chanfu, it's called, this manuscripts where we can see the people doing all this nice, drawing figures, and then there's like the phoenix is flying, he's nodding his head, and all these beautiful poems, which literally for us makes no sense at all. It just sounds like a flowery language, right? So once you dig deeper into it, and like the last time, please let me, like use this example again. We all know the Hulk, right? So if I would tell you smash the table like the Hulk, you would have this picture in your head.
Yes.
This movement, right? Right. So if we would go back in time to the Qing dynasty and you say to a Chinese guy, smash the table like the Hulk, he would look at you like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the cultural background. It makes no sense for him, right? So once you understand how things work, how Chinese martial arts are taught, and how people actually learn things, because you usually do that in pictures, which is much, 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 much easier, then suddenly everything makes sense, So back in the days, these people had a lot of knowledge, and they already knew how to transfer it to other people, because, keep in mind, most people couldn't write, they couldn't read, right? They were fighters, peasants, whatever you want to call it. So how can I tell you how this thing works? And how can you give that to your people? Because you can't write. So maybe I make a little poem, and this little poem, has these little hints inside, like a little railway for you, like a
Yeah.
road. And once you
Subtleties.
travel that, you know how the technique looks like. For example, if I say to you, the phoenix is nodding his head, we all know it's this, right? We never saw a phoenix, but we know it's this movement, right? So actually, when you have a sword and you do this movement, it's the phoenix is nodding his head.
Ah, yes.
So it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So for
It's a different
me,
language altogether.
yes. So for me, it's don't get me wrong, there are a lot of beautiful, very talented traditional Chinese martial artists who can't speak any Chinese. Don't get me wrong. But it helps you so much to have this cultural background, to know the language so you can read it, you understand it, and the fairy tales, the history, then it all makes sense suddenly, because it's not just a sentence where you think
Yeah.
it's nonsense. There's a deep meaning behind it.
Yeah, there's layers to certain things. It's like knowing,
Yes,
being acquainted with somebody and being close friends with somebody. You understand an
yes,
acquaintance. You don't understand why they react a certain way. You just know what they're reacting to. And a close friend, you understand what's going to trigger them, why they're going to receive that information that way.
exactly.
That's a very good point. That's a very smart way of articulating that. Also, why do you think it is they do that through art, but they also do that through the actual physical martial expression, where I would say in my experience, I started off as traditional martial arts as well, and there's I don't know how you feel about it, but some people will say, like boxing and Muay Thai and things like this, you're kind of shown a direct application
Yes,
from the beginning, whereas
yes,
traditional martial arts, you're taught, you're not necessarily shown it, you're training it without realizing it, but it's more left for you to discover, and the
yeah.
movements can be hidden in form. Why is that?
I mean, first of all, we have to make clear that traditional martial arts were always weapon based. And I'm not talking about, for example, Yong Chun or Wing Chun, however you want to call it. This is not for me traditional. I'm talking about old school, 300, 400, 500, old school, old traditional Chinese martial arts. So they're all weapon based, always, always. Yes, you can apply that against attacks by hand or feet. Because by the end of the day, a thrust with the sword is the same like a straight punch, right? But why should I fight just with my hands if I can carry a sword? Just see it like in the old days where everybody could carry a gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was normal. So why the fuck we both should have a fist fight if I can just shoot you, right?
Mm.
Makes no sense. Why should I stand in front of you like this and you're just like, yeah, thanks, Thomas? it makes no sense at all. So if you take this context and you think how Chinese clothing is, where they carried the money, where they carried the sword, how things were back in the days. For example, everybody knows this, when the claw is going down, the tiger goes down, and this one, everybody saw that, right? So one goes down, one goes up, and you can try that against a boxer. You can try that against a kick, and you get your ass whooped. Fact. So just imagine somebody tries to draw a gun, somebody tries to draw a sword or a knife, whatever. So he puts his hand on his body, right? Because he wants to draw it. So suddenly you press the arm against the body and you
Trap it.
attack. If it's a claw or the dragon or the fist, who cares? But suddenly we have a context, right? Suddenly it
Mm.
makes sense. Because what you're doing is you don't let the other guy draw the weapon and you shut down the computer at the same time. So what you need is this understanding of the context, and you need a teacher, shifu, however you want to call it, who knows that and who is teaching you in that manner. Because what's happening is that so many things get lost in translation, and people
Yes.
come up with the funniest applications because, you know, like it has to have a meaning. So, you know, my teacher said that his teacher said that this teacher saw, you know, like that's a bunch of bullshit because it was used for fighting. No, bro, it's like that. It was used
It
for
is true.
fighting. So this is what I always tell my students: if you want to fight MMA, you have to adjust, right? You have to. So traditional martial arts, like traditional Chinese martial arts, were never meant to be fist on fist. Never ever. But for sure I can use it. There are kicks, there are punches, there are elbows, there are throws, there are breaks. It all makes sense. It's like if you look at Aikido, it's a beautiful art and everybody's making so much fun about it because those people can't fight, right? And if you throw punch, yeah, blah 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 blah. But besides the fact that Yeshiba changed it anyways, if you see what these people are doing, and so if you want to grab the sword, suddenly it all makes sense. It's the context, but
Yeah.
it's not meant to stand in a cage in a speedo and fight.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point because the need the need to fight with the weapon, the need to duel has been lost. So the context is not comprehensive to the modern practitioner. But Aikido, Judo, Karate, that's all the samurai's way. That was all one, right? It was all
Right,
one. So I mean,
right.
I personally think Aikido has something to offer. I just don't think I would train it in its traditional sense. But
Yeah,
if you're grappling and you have you're using your tactile sense, you 100% can use those wrist locks or those compression locks or everything like that
right,
because it makes sense there.
right. For example, if we stay inside the Chinese martial arts, because I just trained Aikido for 1 year, you know, just to see it a little bit. Um, the example I was giving you before, like if somebody wants to draw something and you
Yeah,
press the hand, okay. Inside my blade craft method, I have what I call the preventive first strike. You know, so if you see that this guy has this clip of his folder out of his pocket, and you get in this argument, and you see that his hand is going inside his pocket, we both
yes,
know he's not going to write down his phone number. You know what I'm saying? He's not. He wants to draw the knife, right?
correct.
So suddenly a move which was created hundreds of years ago got meaning because I'm doing the same. I'm just pushing his hand down. So he can't draw, right? I prevent the draw for a split second. Can he punch me with a yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this specific move, which has a meaning because I put it in a context. Take the
Yes,
same move when you throw, you know, a hook or when you throw a knee strike or a low, whatever, and it's useless. It's absolutely useless. So I take the base of my bladecraft method is traditional Chinese martial arts because I use blades. It makes all sense for me. And by
yeah,
the end of the day, if you carry inside your waistband and you want to draw the gun out, you do this movement, right? So this will give you, you know, 2 seconds, maybe just 1 second, but this can be enough time to do what you got to do, right?
I
So
love how you
suddenly,
point that out.
so suddenly
Go
we
ahead, go ahead.
have we have, we have traditional Chinese martial arts which are alive. You're not trying to say it's not a dead art, but you need a good teacher, like I said before. You have to understand the context, and you can't chase fairy tale dragons. You know what I'm trying to say? Because that's the problem. All those people jumping around in silky pajamas, standing there in the park, you know, doing the movements, and you ask them, what are you doing? I got no idea. But it's good for my health, my chi, blah, 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 blah. Back in the days, do you think people were thinking about chi, about health? Why? No. I want to kill the other person before he can kill me.
Mhm.
If you are on the fucking battlefield, nobody's thinking about health. If you want to get healthy, you can do any exercise you would like to, right? Swimming, running, bicycle. It's beautiful. It's a good exercise. Why do martial arts? Martial arts, battlefield. But the context is completely lost. So you have people putting boxing gloves on, and they want to compete against a guy who just trains 5 punches all day long. Because his context is to beat the shit out of you. And you want to prevent him to draw his saber. It makes no sense.
Yeah. How does one like yourself, and like I said, I've had this problem myself. Like for example, with Wing Chun, when I've trained I trained Mopai Kempo before I trained Wing Chun, right? I moved on from that once I got my black belt. I started training Jeet Kune Do actually first. Once I started training Jeet Kune Do, I said, okay, I need to go back and revisit Wing Chun because I want to understand the element. I want to understand the root, right? And I wanted to learn, how does a Wing Chun practitioner learn? Because the thing I liked about Jeet Kune Do is I was learning how to use it for application right away, which I think in hindsight, I was happy I went about it that route because I think the process would have taken longer otherwise. Yes. But to go back, to reverse engineer it and go train Wing Chun now, there was a lot of stuff that I seen them training as like, man, this is not going to work against a boxer. This is not going to work against a kickboxer. But what I was learning in form and structure was absolutely fantastic. It actually made my trapping hands better. Later on, when I started teaching, it's funny, when you start teaching people like this movement you did, we call like a gamda, right? Pinning hand with the hip.
Right.
Or ganda.
Yeah.
You try to do it against a boxer, it's not going to look the same. It's not going to work the same. But all of a sudden, like you say, if I wanted to teach my students trapping, I would do it with a blade in my hand. Yeah. Because all of a sudden now the tanda and the ganda and these things make sense because it's about bisecting lines against the blade while simultaneously hitting. But it's not going to apply the same way to boxing. It has to be much more subtle. So
yes,
that process for me to learn that was very time consuming, but it is important. How do you recommend for somebody who has a traditional background to find use for their traditional martial arts knowledge in modern day martial arts, combative martial arts?
Bro, that's a tricky one because, I don't want to sound cocky, but there are not so many people running around to have this knowledge, and those people who run around to have that knowledge, they maybe don't want to share it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So it gets tricky.
But I mean, there's always going to be the one guy who's like, if nobody's going to show me, let me discover it. Because somebody had to have that attitude somewhere down the line, right? Somebody had to just say, fuck it, let me just find out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, I would advise everybody to get into the cultural context, to start with that. Why things are done in the way back in the days. Because this is where you have to start, right? You have to understand, what is this movement for? Don't try to take the movement and adjust it to a thing if you can't understand why it's already existing. Like you said, if you take the blade, suddenly everything is different, right? So do you think that Wing Chun was created against the boxer? No. There were no boxers, right? Makes no sense. But once you have the understanding, and this is very, very, very important, once you are a fighter, because we have to differ, right? There's the scholar who likes to study. There's the, how can I call it? The show-off guy.
The artist.
Yeah, beautiful. And there's the fighter.
Yes.
If you give the fighter Jeet Kune Do, he will fucking fight with it. If you give him Mantis, he will fucking fight. If you give him blah, 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 he will use it and fucking fight with it. That's because people have this weird thinking, oh, I train martial arts, so now I'm a fighter. No, you're not.
Quite the opposite. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that back in the days, for example, if you go to study a Chinese kung fu style, okay, I can assure you, you were already a brawler. You were a fighter. It's not like in the movies, this fragile little kid start. Yeah, exceptions of the rules. Don't get me wrong, but most of the times you were a brawler, kind of bodyguard, making money with it. You know what I mean? And so you already know how to fight in some way. You can stand your ground. But then there's this kung fu master who can teach you different aspects, different tactics. So it's not like he starts from the scratch, right? He already
Yeah.
got this brawler in front of him, and he's just molding it a little bit.
Yeah,
Making it more,
that's a good point.
But
That makes a big difference.
nowadays, yeah, it makes such a big difference, and this is why if you go to a regular martial arts school, and we have to be honest, 90%, 99% of the people are no fighters, and they don't have to, because hopefully never anything bad will happen, right? So for them, it's a kind of exercise. It's exotic, it's oriental, it's Chinese, Japanese, it's fun, it's all these things, which is beautiful. And I love it. And I love to give people that they are happy, because by the end of the day, hopefully you never have to fight. But 1% of the guys, we want to brawl. We want to fucking fight. We got our ass whooped so many times on the street, So we know how it is to receive. We know how it is to give. And suddenly somebody approaches you and he's like, oh, bro, you can do it like this. Oh, yeah, really? It makes no sense. You can do it like this. You can do it like, oh, yeah, it makes no sense. So we are like a sponge, and we absorb it, right? And we make it to our own expression, like a handwriting. Yeah. Then things get interesting. But just because you train a martial art doesn't make you a martial artist.
Yeah.
No. Or let's put it like this: doesn't make you a fighter. Don't get me wrong. Because,
No, you're right. Because myself, I used to get in a lot of shit when I was younger. I used to fight a lot when I was younger. Remember, I'm the youngest of 10. I have four brothers used to beat the shit out of me. Right. And then I used to fight a lot at school because, kids bully you and shit like that. Right. But it's true, because when you start training martial arts, you already have a context. You already know what it's like to be hit, or what it's like to hit somebody. You can't know that. You don't know what it feels like when your knuckles hit someone's skull, or the sound it makes when you get cracked. You understand you understand violence. You understand how chaotic it is. You understand what the heart rate's like. You understand all that shit. You have a place of reference. So when you start to learn stuff, you're trying to see, okay, yes, I can see how this would work because this happened to me before. And you don't have that if you've never fought in your life. And that's sometimes it's dangerous, because when these kids who have never fought but just being picked on, they start training martial arts, they have no real reference. And that actually sometimes gives them false confidence, right? So sparring is so important.
Yes. It's all about pressure testing. It's all about being pressure tested, It's all about that, And like you said, it gives you. There are so many people with this, they think they're unbeatable because they can do this and this kata, this and this form, and they then if you can tell he got never punched in his face. You know what I mean? Yeah. Back in the days when I started, and I still do it today, if I meet people, I check their face, I check their hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
bro, I wouldn't look like that always. All the cuts here, my nose broke a couple of times. Look at my ears, it's all fucked up, But it's fucked up because,
But those are your, all of those marks, all those cauliflower, all that. Those are your real belts.
That's beautiful said. That's a fact. So if somebody is telling me something, about fighting, and you look at him and you think like, bro, you never got punched in the face. You know, I inside I stopped listening a long time ago. I'm polite. We can have a chat, you know, but you know, it's like when people talk about knife and all that, you know, did you ever get stabbed? No. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Don't give me that shit. And the
Yeah.
funny thing, brother, is, for example, if you would go to a swimming club, you would expect your teacher was in the water, right?
Yes.
Maybe not, maybe not in the deepest ocean. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like he was at least in the swimming pool, and he can do, you know, his lanes, and he can do the different styles. He can do that, right? But as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, if we are honest, most teachers out there never fought, not even on a competition. So
Mm.
what you want to teach me?
Yeah.
I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You can teach somebody, perhaps, like you say, from the expression side or the scholar side, but not in the context of a fighter.
That's it. And then
Yeah.
you hear like, my teacher said his teacher heard the person saying that this person used it. It's useless.
Mhm.
No. I need first-hand experience. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's very important.
And that
So
doesn't mean they have to be. It doesn't have to be. They have to be like a champion in a league, but they have to
no,
have put their time in the ring. They've had to have. They've had to fought. They've had to have some real
yeah.
experience. Yeah,
To be
100%.
honest, I couldn't care less if you won or lost. Who cares? I
Yeah. Did you
lost.
fight?
I
Did
won.
you fight?
So who cares? You know? No, 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 no. I But you were there. You know? I'm a. I think it's very important. For example, that you. For me, it's very important that you fought at least one time in the cage.
Hmm.
Not just the fighting, the preparation for it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Three
Yep.
times, 4 times a day training, your diet, you know, making weight, all that shit. All that shit
Yeah.
you're going through, all these mental stages you go through. Once you did that, and I don't care if you win or lose, once you did that, you look at a different way on fighters. You know how much sacrifice they bring to the table, right?
Yeah. Well,
It's
the fighting
completely.
started 3 months before the date.
That's it. The fighting
Yeah.
is the easy part, right? Because you're looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah. You want to
You
get, or
know?
just get it, or just get it over with, just to
Yeah, and
get
then
past
eat
that
some
anxiety.
pizza, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first went to China to learn there, what was it like? How were you received by the people there? Did you have to deal with any stereotype or racism,
Oh
or
yeah. Everything. Everything.
can you speak to us a little
Everything.
bit about that? Because I think there's a powerful message there, because I have a lot of friends in different races, different ethnicities, different arts, and I love when they meet that kind of adversity, they meet that kind of challenge, or that bullshit that comes with that, and I love hearing the stories where they overcome it and they're actually taken in like one of their own. You know what I mean? I think that's an important
Yeah,
thing for people. If you love something, it doesn't matter what people think about you. You will prove them wrong, because your passion alone will kill it, will supersede any of that.
yes.
Can
Yes.
you share some of that experience?
I mean, it's the first couple of times I was in China and I was already training, you know, I couldn't speak any Chinese, you know, so it makes things much
Oh,
worse, you know.
I can only imagine.
And there's this, you know, like I still remember when I was training in Beijing and I was in the park and I started to do my training, and because suddenly 2 people, 4 people, 6, 10, 15 people just stand there and watch you like I'm a monkey in a circus. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah,
you're doing your things, you're training, and they just watch you, and they speak obviously about you, but you can't understand the word, right? So this is the first time you have to decide: do I stop training and just go back to the hotel, or do I continue training? Right.
yes,
So
yeah,
to be honest, I couldn't care. I couldn't care less. It was just weird, right? So whenever Chinese people saw me training, you know, do you know the expression to eat bitter?
to eat
Chiku,
bitter.
you know, like Yeah, to eat bitter, to suffer,
Yes, I get the
to
expression.
to bring the sacrifice. Chinese people say, at least they said it when I was there, that white people can't do it. We
Hmm.
can't suffer. We can't train as hard as they can do. We can't grasp kung fu. We can't do that. Which means I was the earliest person there, in the morning. I was there. I was training. I was showing them, yeah, I can do that. I can do everything what you can do. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like, I can't do it. Just explain it to me and I will do it. And you have to show, sometimes it's a little bit like in the kung fu movies. You have to show that you are worthy. You know what I mean? Depending where you learn, which person it is. Some people were really like, no, I don't want to teach like this guy. As an example, they didn't let me enter a cinema because I'm white. And when they found out that I can speak Chinese, and I asked them politely why I can't enter, they were changing to the home dialect. You know, so I
Wow.
can't understand what they're saying. So
Wow.
yeah, I experienced that. Yeah, for sure. But I also experienced people. There was one time, there was this, like we were on vacation, and there was, like raining, 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 raining. The next day, the fucking bridge was gone. So we couldn't leave that place. So suddenly you're trying to hunt for food, trying to say, because you can't leave that place anymore. So you're stuck there at the hotel, and the toilet starts to, all the shit literally flushes up, and you sit there and you're like, fuck man, I'm hungry. So that's the opposite side. I met people who shared their food with me, and they never ever saw me before.
Mm.
But I was just asking politely, like, do you sell this? And she was like, no, I'm cooking right now, but please enter. So you eat with people I never saw before and I will never see again. But they share this little bit what they got because they know you're hungry.
That's
You know what
beautiful.
I mean? It's
That's
it's
beautiful.
it's it, I still get goosebumps, what I'm trying to say? So
Mm.
I experienced both sides, very extreme, like I have to be honest, bro. I was sad when people tell you can't enter the cinema because you're white. What the fuck? I live in your country. I study your language. Maybe I know more about your history than you do. I'm trying to say,
Yeah, maybe you never know.
but I'm not allowed to enter because I'm white. And you have people, this Davids, long nose, that they call us, not they. Long nose is a term which is used for white people.
Mm.
So I still remember I was in this bus sitting driving downtown, and there's this little kid pointing at me and calling me in Chinese, like, oh, Davids, long nose, long nose. And you would expect the mom to say, bro, little, don't
Don't
point
say
at
that.
people and don't call him like that. You don't do that. Okay. And she was like, yeah, that's a long nose guy. You're correct. You know? So,
Yeah,
but
racism is fucking shit anywhere. Anywhere it is,
it is. It
anybody.
is. It is. But like I said, it's not. I for me, Chinese people were, or are so welcoming. You know what I mean? Because like for example, my shifu, he treats me like his son. He's we are literally holding hands when we sit at dinner. He's an old man. So he literally touches my hand. And he's like, Thomas, good to see you. And bro, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a
It
special
gives me so
connection.
much more. It's not just the skill to fight. It's not just the skill to break things. I'm part of his family. So it's beautiful.
It's yeah, because now, the people who impact our life, the people who share things with us, when they go, they live through us because we've absorbed part of them. We absorb something about them,
Yes.
and we take that with us. You know what I mean? That's why I think it's, martial arts has always been one of those ways to kind of no matter religion or race or whatever, martial arts can unify people. Because
Yes.
whether it's martial arts or music or whatever it is, people just, when they share experience, when they share objectives, they find a way to respect each other. They find a way to become, they have a synergy. When we don't have
Yeah.
common goals, that's when we allow all this stupid shit to divide us, right? It's just a weird thing that
Exactly.
happens. And it happens with the martial arts itself, right?
Yeah.
Martial arts is very also divided. Like, I don't know what it is about traditional martial arts, but it's very much like it's very hard for them to let you in. It's not like they want to share it with the world. They want to share it within their own people. And I think that's,
Yeah.
and this could be just my understanding, but that also comes down to the war times, like you said, your dynasties, your
Yeah.
tribes, your whatever.
Yes.
You don't give your
Exactly.
secrets to the enemy, right?
Exactly. Yes. So for me, it was like, in Chinese, you have this Baishu ceremony where you become, indoor student. It's called. So I was 10 years the student of my shifu, and bro, don't get me wrong, I can't complain. I learned, he taught me, everything was beautiful. And then I was allowed to do this ceremony, and from that day on, I'm part of his family, inside circle, if you want to put it like that. And the training changed. The
How
training
so?
changed.
How so? That's interesting to me. More intimate?
More refined, more condensed, more knowledge, more to the source, if you know what I'm trying to say. It's the same technique, but
More
he
meaning
gives
behind
you
it?
he gives you more. He shows you more how to, where it comes from, how to apply it, different applications of it, the history of it. So for me it was like literally you open up the door of his candy store and I'm this little kid like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And like we talked the last time, he loves it that I fight at the Dark Brothers gathering. You know, so he was always, and he is always showing me, how to use every small detail in fighting. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not like performance. He couldn't care less. He couldn't care less. If you see me performing my taolu, my forms, you would say, "Bad." Like that's ugly. The guy is, bro. I use it for fighting. I fight
Mm.
with it, and he loves it, and he supports me. So that was very very interesting because before it
That's
happened to me, you just read that, you hear that, the training changes, but it's really like that. Suddenly, he approached me and he was like, if you have any questions whatsoever, ask me. You know?
I love that he, being a traditional shifu, I love how he allowed you to do other things and just encourage that, because sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's like, oh, focus on this only. You can only master one
Yeah,
thing, Da, 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 da.
yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about this now. Let's talk about the flavor you bring to the Dog Brothers. I mean, obviously your name is Gong Fu Dog, but let's
For
talk
sure.
about it because I see you using weapons that are not necessarily of the Filipino flavor.
No,
And I like the
no.
fact that I like the fact that you use, you know, traditional weapons, the spear, the staff, the chain whip, all this shit.
Yeah,
But you're also
yeah,
using the stick too.
yeah.
How do you think your flavor has two? So this is a two-part question. First, how did you feel using something different that they were not using? How did it feel to you to fight somebody who was just using, a double baston or a single baston, where you're using these different weapons? How did it feel to you? And also, how do you think you've changed or added, supplemented to the Dog Brothers diversity?
Mm. It might sound cocky, but I don't care what weapon you have in your hands. I couldn't care less. As long as I got my weapon, let's fight.
Yeah.
It does. I don't. I mean, I have, for example, I fought Growling Dog Rene. You know, I fought him a couple of times, but the first time we met each other,
He's a great guy.
he's, like you use this term brother in the English language like that, right? No, he's he's my brother. I love him from the bottom of my heart. Okay,
Yeah.
he's such a bro. You know him,
I call
So
him my padrino, my godfather.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So he fought my three sectional stuff single stick.
Oh
And
fuck.
and when we were walking out on the dance floor, and I was like,
It's like,
didn't he forget something? Like just one stick, And it
yeah,
was it was it was one of my greatest fights I ever had. We had so much fun, and all the way back in the airplane, I felt it because he was hitting my back and my butt so hard. So um, that left a deep impression. Because I thought that was a brilliant strategy. It was brilliant just to use one stick. And he executed it perfectly. But like I said, I couldn't care less because I see it from this traditional approach, right? If I would be, besides that, on the battlefield, you would not use the three sectional step. It makes no sense to use this weapon there. But whenever I go somewhere, I would have my tools with me, right? Be it my gun, be it my knife, be it my three sectional step. So I believe that my skills I got with this weapon are enough, right? Because otherwise I would carry other stuff.
mm-hmm.
So I couldn't care less what you bring to the table. I couldn't care less what style you practice or where you come from, what degree you got, like fifth dan. Well, no, I don't. Put the mask on, tab in, and we're on. I couldn't care less.
How did you feel? What did you feel like their response was dealing with somebody using a weapon that is not conventional to them?
You
Because
have to
that must
ask
have
the
been
guy.
interesting. That must have been interesting. Because think about it, right? Here are these guys who are doing some revolutionary shit to begin with, right? They're really testing the shit out. They're getting rid of the flowery shit. They're incorporating jujitsu. They're incorporating everything else, and they already think they're doing something new. And then here comes a guy now who's using fucking traditional shit in a new age format. Like that must have been cool.
First of all, like I told you last time, the reason why I went to my first gathering was because I saw a clip where one of the Dog brothers were saying, like he fought a guy with a three sectional staff, and he was saying like this weapon is just for performance. It's not for fighting. And that pissed me off. Because if you just fight a guy who brings nothing to the table and the guy can't fight obviously with this weapon, does this mean that the weapon is shit? No.
Yeah.
That person couldn't bring it to the table, right? So I didn't like that attitude. I found it cocky. I found it arrogant. I didn't like it, So that's the reason why I went there in the first place. I wanted to fight, And I still remember, when I was talking to Mark Denny the day before fighting, and I was like, I fight with three sectional staff, and he was like, by now nobody ever impressed me. I said, yeah, maybe I'm the one.
I love that attitude.
No, bro, I couldn't care less. Who are you
Yeah.
that you say this to my face without ever seeing me bring something to the table?
Yeah.
That's a pretty stinky way of seeing things in my world. At least we can have a decent conversation, but I don't talk down to you. But I was the new guy, you know what I mean? There's,
yeah.
This chief, and so I felt it a little bit. Don't get me wrong. He was super nice to me. He was super supportive. And after he saw me fighting, I got the invitation to fight at the tribal gathering. Normally, you have to be a member of the tribe to fight at the tribal gathering, right? But obviously, he liked what he was seeing, and he was inviting me to come down to LA and fight at the tribal, right? So super nice to give it. I was really proud, to get this invitation, because like it's not like everybody gets it, So
Yeah.
I must have done something right. Okay. And I just know that after the guys fought me and we were talking, like those guys didn't know that I also, let's say, I have a decent level in BJJ. So if you want to fight against my three sectional stuff, you have two options. You stay outside, I will catch you. Or you want to rush in, right? So if you rush in, we're in grappling range, right? Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
So either I hit you or I armbar you. It's your choice. Or you beat the shit out of me beforehand. You know what I mean?
How important is the grappling to the weapon arts?
Grappling was always, and I repeat, always part of the art.
Yes.
Always.
So the reason why I say that, I know this, but for some people who train, like, for example, Filipino martial arts, there are some people who are saying, if he tried to do this, I would just cut him, or I just do that, or there are some people, I guess, just like some striking people. If my striking is really this good, you would never get a chance on me. That's very, like you say before, very cocky, very dismissive attitude. But
yes,
for those who don't know, please explain to them why it's so important to have grappling in your weapons or striking game.
I mean, like I like always to give people one example. If you have two good boxers, and those are, give me the two best boxers and these guys fight, they end up in a clinch, right? How come? They just train the whole fucking day punching, right?
Yeah.
Why do they end up in a clinch? It should make you think. So if you are in clinching range, close, what is it? It's grappling. So even in boxing, we see grappling.
Yep.
Always. In every round, sometimes just the whole round long because it's so boring,
Depending on the fighter, yeah.
Yeah. So we all know that the knife is one of the most vicious weapons.
Fuck yeah.
And we know that close quarter, the knife is vicious. Don't get me wrong, it's always vicious, but like close by,
There's no winners.
You have a lot of, there are no winners. Still, you have a lot of, let's put it like that, famous systems who like to approach this problem with a clinch, right? You have old manuscripts of European martial arts, Chinese martial arts, Japanese martial arts. It's always clinching, it's always grappling. Always. Do things change once you are, for example, on the battlefield? Yes. Once your back is hitting the floor, I'm going to pull my dagger out and stab you, right? I'm not going to go down and mataleao you or armbar you or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But grappling is always present. So we have to address the fact. And we have to be prepared for it. Either your art, like Jeet Kune Do, is giving it to you already, or you have to explore another art, being a judo, sambo, wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I couldn't care less, but you have to do it at least 1 year.
Some formal training in that realm.
You have to. Yeah. But
now,
in the old days, yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying, in the old days, it was always present. And as a matter of fact, if you look at Chisao, which Wing Chun is doing, and you think about that the grappler is trying to hold you, to get a grip on you, like in Shuai Jiao, Chinese wrestling. Suddenly things change because it makes. I'm not saying that nowadays the people are so prepared to it because they don't train it. Don't get me wrong. You need a wrestler to train it. You know what I'm saying? But suddenly you see things and you understand why you do it. Because grappling is always present, bro. Always somebody's trying to.
It's so funny you say that. You blew my fucking mind right now. Today, I actually trained for about 2.5 hours, and that's what we were doing. So we were using Hubad as a generator,
Yeah.
but Hubad just as a generator, all of a sudden punches come in, knees come in, elbows come in, headbutt comes in, pummeling. And I was saying, I'm like, this is why I trained, this is why I focused on the chi sao, because you're not going to chi sao somebody, but these levers, these pressures, these frames,
Yes.
these are the
Yes.
shit that matters. And when some fucking idiot tells me, oh, nobody fights like that, hey, you fucking moron. When somebody grabs your fucking shirt, what do you guys do? You grab each other. This is the fucking generator. When you get into the tie clinch, you want to shut down. That is the generator. When you're in someone's guard and you're working their hands, that is the generator. So the attributes you're learning from this is what fucking matters. When you're boxing, you don't skip a rope, but you skip a rope so you can box, right? Because of the attributes. So it's amazing you said that. But yeah, that's exactly how and that's what I try to do. Like, this is why I went back. Like I said, I trained Jeet Kune Do first, and then I am a Jeet Kune Do practioner. That's what I identify myself the most because of the philosophy, right? But I have a purple in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I have only my blue in BJJ, but it doesn't matter. What matters is you're learning how to fucking find principles in each of these arts and learning to sing them together so that you can transition, because a fight is a fight is a fight. Wherever you go in the fight, that's where you're going to go in the fight. But if you can understand, like you say before, and that's a big fucking thing, principles over technique.
Always.
You know, principles over technique.
Always.
Yeah, I think some people don't get that, and it takes time.
There are more similarities than differences.
Yeah. But people look for the differences, right?
Yes, because this is
why
what people want to be. They want to be, because people want to be different.
Yes.
You always want to be the champ. You always want to be the best looking guy. You want to have the best car. Humans are stupid. We have to put it like that, So
prideful sin.
Yeah.
Prideful sin.
Like I didn't answer your the second part of your question, because you also asked, like what kind of influence I might have had.
Yes.
In regards, So to cut it short, now other people inside the tribe are exploring and using the 3 sectional staff.
That's pretty cool.
That's it. That's the coolest thing ever. That's so cool, because
it really is.
You have this little German guy who's traveling down to LA, finding people, and people see, oh man, this weapon is maybe not so shitty. So they build their own and they start to explore, and have success with it. You know what I mean? So, man,
you see, you just taught people not to take someone else's word for it. You showed people that it is possible, and when things are possible, people are willing to try it. When people believe it is not possible, people won't even try it. That's a huge fucking thing. It's a very important thing. It's a very important thing. Now, you also, with regards to weapons, you also do some other cool shit, and I really enjoy watching it. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. This business of throwing weapons, Scanf. Yeah. Talk to me about how you got into that. Your passion with that.
The first time I was throwing a knife, my daddy died when I was 11, and my daddy was a World War II veteran. And he taught me how to throw a knife, which is commonly known as military half spin, So I was throwing, like when this ninja time was, throwing stars and all, you know what I mean? Like I was always throwing a little bit. And in traditional Chinese martial arts, we have there's a lot of hidden stuff. Throwing weapons is one of the things which is hidden in a lot of forms, and people don't know it. People don't see it. So I was lucky enough to find one guy who also taught me, 2 ways how to throw in the Chinese way, but never like I'm doing it now, And then all this sudden COVID started, right? and we have the situation. I can't train anymore what I usually train. I mean, I'm blessed. I have my traditional Chinese forms, which I can train. I have a 10-year-old son who's also into martial arts a lot, so I can train BJJ with him and whatever. But he's 10 years old. You know what I'm saying? So
It's an
I
investment
always,
for when he's 20.
yeah. So I always, I always admired the Russian way of throwing. Because in Scum, it looks like a bullet, like an arrow. It shoots out of your hand, and there's a lot of power generated. So to cut it short, I just inboxed the guy who I know who's teaching it, and he's one of the best students from the creator of this style system method, and he accepted me as a student, and
Awesome.
that's how it all started.
What's the
So
distinction? What's the distinction with this particular way of throwing? What makes it so like different? What gives it its flavor?
I mean, yesterday I gave an interview about it. So the main difference is that most people push when they throw, right? We don't do that. We pull. So once you pull, you know, and you generate the energy, the knife will flip over automatically, and the knife will fly straight. If you watch my clips, you see it's just straight line.
And I like how you do it. What I notice about it is you don't just stand there and you're doing it from walking. You do it from having
Yes,
somebody beside you.
it's a
Like
martial art.
these are things that you have to practice. How would I do if I would have to do this while in motion or in this position, or if this person was with me? How would I deploy it? These are things that it's not just a static, stationary. I'm throwing fucking darts at the bar. This is like while moving.
Yes, I see it. First of all, I see it like a martial art. Secondly, I like to tell people it's the same like in shooting. If you stand at your 25-meter range and you always do this target shooting, you know how to use your gun, and you're very good at 25 meters. That's perfect. If, and hopefully never, but if you have to use it in combat, you will move. The target will move. It's not about 25 meters anymore.
Yeah,
Not at all. Not even close. So for me, throwing tools is another add-on into my work with blades in general. I mean, there are a lot of like I said before, there are a lot of stupid comments always like, oh, I wouldn't throw my weapon away. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I just have one knife and I throw it away? No, I'm not an idiot. Just think before you assume things, Oh, a throwing knife would never kill a person. I never said it would kill a person. I always like to use the example. Do you remember the first time a snowball hit your face? And everybody's like, yeah, I remember that. How was it? Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, right. Yeah. So now imagine 150 grams of steel landing right in your face. And I don't care if it's point or handle or if it's a can. I don't care. Just imagine I throw that to your face. What will you do? You will stop. You will react. You will do something. So I have time to create no man's land. I have time to choose
Draw
another
another one.
tool. I have another tool like or a gun or whatever, or I can cross no man's land and finish you, whatever I want, So it's I always like to call it's a game changer, but not a fight ender,
It means to an end.
So it's just another skill set, and it like we say in German, it's better to have it and don't need it than being in need of it and don't have it.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Now, your traditional martial arts, the mechanics and for example, like if I wanna back fist your nose, I know I have to line it up with my elbow. Like these anatomy kind of fixed points you know how to align your, how much of that, I would imagine a lot of that has to do with your throwing, your alignment, your body mechanics. Does the traditional martial
It,
arts and the movement help with that?
yeah, it's and please don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound cocky, but like I said yesterday, I was giving an interview with a good friend of mine. You know, he's the founder of the Full Tank Clan. Um, amazing knife thrower. If I'm not mistaken, 2 times also world champion.
Wow.
And the thing is that people watch my clips or look at me in a different ways because I'm not involved for a long time, but my results are pretty good. You know.
How often do you practice?
So mostly on a daily basis. Yeah, I take days off also because like it's not good every day. Because the brain needs to rest. It's like that. But yeah, regularly, definitely. But also not too long. It's like 1 hour, 1.5 hour. It's fun. But I was getting, or let's put it like this: I'm getting good so fast because of my traditional Chinese background. Because the way how power is generated, how the force vectors are used, how waves are created inside your body. I mean, we just have 2 arms, 2 legs, right? Yeah. So for me, it was just like, I know that. It's just a different way how to release not the energy. You know what I mean? So I picked it up pretty fast.
Have you done like, do you do archery? Like, I know you mentioned the gun, but do you do archery or any other type of projectile type weapons?
No archery, just shooting. But that's
just
not
shooting,
projectile, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, of all the things that you trained, be it traditional, be it because you have some competitive fights. I actually watched one. Nice shooting under his punch. Then he tried to reverse the takedown on you. You ended up on the bottom, pulled guard, and ended up armbarring him.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. That's a pretty. What I'm trying to get at is it's pretty diverse, right? You have a very traditional background, combative sports, traditional weapon, modern day full contact fighting, throwing knives. It's a very wide spectrum.
Yes.
And what was the most challenging for you as a martial artist? What aspect in that whole kind of thing? What was the one thing that you had a hard time with that you knew you were going to get it, but it took a little longer? And how did you overcome the, not being discouraged?
Well, not becoming discouraged is a tricky one sometimes. You know what I'm trying to say? I never ever quit my life. I never did that. I never ever, because I know I will get it. Maybe not as fast as you, but I will get it. I know that's a matter of fact, because we're built in the same way. I got no disability, so I will get it. But I can't tell you, for example, it's BJJ or it's Kung Fu or it's knife throwing, because there are always different aspects inside these arts, right?
Correct.
So there was, like when I started to train, for example, with the fractional staff, I had some hard time trailing it around, hitting myself like we all did with Nunchaku, when we trained,
Yep.
So I think falling is part of the game. It's more like you have to stand up again.
Yeah.
And I know that, what I'm trying to say, because I'm involved in it now for 43 years this year. 43 years of martial art.
Wow.
So I think, like one person had a nice meme, and he was like, the difference between the student and the master is that the master has fallen more often and also stood up again.
That's the difference.
That's the main difference. And I have fallen so many times that I know I get this courage, I'm trying to say. I know if you do something new, but on the other hand, you get something new, right? I want that knowledge.
Yes.
I want that. I want to do what you bring to the table. Please teach me. And you show me this exercise, and I'm like, I got no fucking idea what you're doing. So I will sit there and I will do it again and I will do it again. And I can tell you, when it comes to knife throwing, I have to ask my wife, correct me if I'm 4.5 hours. Yeah. 4.5 hours I was training one type of throw. Because I couldn't get it, like I'm satisfied.
You see, that's a thing
But
right there. Go ahead.
But giving up is not an option, right? Because if you give up, besides the fact that you are then maybe relieved and happy because you know it doesn't bother you anymore, you will never gain that skill. So what do you want more? A happy evening on the couch, and look the next day in the mirror and tell to yourself, I have given up.
Yeah.
Or do you do it again?
Yeah.
And I do it again. And I will do it again. I'm very teachable, you know what I'm trying to say? Because I just do it again. I do it again. And I know if it sucks, I will do it again. You know? So
what I was gonna say is that's a characteristic trait that I think like West and East is traditional martial arts. I remember, man, doing horse stances with the staff on my thighs, keeping it parallel.
Yeah.
It's like fucking half the class, and people were just like, I'm not paying money to do this all day, because they didn't understand why they would have to train this so much. That's the part of martial arts where they say discipline matters, because to be able to do that, like you say, you're training your one throw for like 4 hours. That's dedication. That is truly sharpening and getting to know that one technique intimately, knowing it very, very well. Why do you think people in the West don't really do it, or have a hard time dedicating themselves to just one thing? Because I find it's like, okay, yeah. You show me that. Oh, I did it a couple times. Okay, I know it. Let's move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I really think it's a cultural thing. You know, you have to teach Westerners in a different way. It's like that. You have to teach them in a different way, because West are spoiled by nature.
Yeah.
You got everything there. You got everything. You know what I'm trying to say? You got your house, you got your car, you got your job, you got food on the table, you know? I trained with people who maybe get one meal a day. You know what I mean? One meal a day. So this person gets the chance to fight at Pride Fighting Championships back in the days in Japan. So this is this lifetime opportunity, right? It's this or nothing. So what do you do? Do you give up? Or are you dedicated? You will do what you need to do, right? 100%. Or you say, oh no, I got no time, my girlfriend doesn't want to, and I can, like take social welfare or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's different. I think it's a cultural thing. Definitely it is. And it's like the Chinese said, like I told you before, to eat bitter, to suffer. You have to bring that to the table. You have to, because by the end of the day, we are not all brain surgery guys, right? We are not. But the person who is wanted to learn it, and he was dedicated. Could we all be one? Maybe. But we have to do the same what he did. Do we want that? No.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Everybody finds his own niche. So when people approach me and they're like, oh, Thomas, you're so good. You trained for 43 years. You got any advice? Yeah, don't ask. Just do it. Like, for example, I'm a secondary black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And people, like when you get your first degree or when you get a second degree, people are like, oh, congratulations. What for? I don't get it. It just means that I didn't quit it. I trained long enough that my teacher thinks, yeah, now it's time to give him a degree again. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's not like something special. It just shows dedication. It just shows you do what you love, right? And people say, congratulations. Why? What for?
It's a timestamp.
Yeah, that's it. But people have no time nowadays. They don't want that anymore. Like you said, standing in a horse stance, bro. I got no idea how long I was standing like that. I have no idea. I still remember when my teacher was preparing me for the first time I was fighting Sander, like full contact fighting.
Sunshine, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sounds yeah. And he literally knocked me out, literally. So I still remember I'm lying there at the corner, something like that, and he's in front of me, he's like, Thomas, yeah, Thomas, are you here? Yeah. Boom! Did I fucking taught you that? Stand up, bro. And I was like, yeah, fuck, I'm sorry, I'm standing. Let's go. You know, do that nowadays.
Oh fuck! You close your school down, you be charged.
That's it.
Yeah,
Times have changed. People have changed.
yeah.
What you want
That
to
being
do?
said, that being said, times are changing again. Right now, we're living through something that's going to be in the history books. How do you
Fact.
think? How do you think? How do you think martial training or weapons training is going to play out in the things that are to come? Do you think people should start investing in this type of training now for their own self preservation? Would you
If
recommend
not now, yeah,
when?
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
If not now,
I don't,
when?
I don't think people. I
I
don't
mean,
think people want to think like that. I think people are scared to admit
no,
this is a
that's
possibility.
that's all good. That's all good, and I'm bro. I'm praying for everybody that never anything bad will happen.
For
Literally,
sure.
okay. But
For
I don't
sure.
know how it is where you live. But for example, if I have problems here at home, somebody would enter my house, and my wife would call the police. 10 minutes.
And
So what's
that could be a
happening
long
next,
time.
bro? I had fights which ended in 15 seconds. You know what I mean? So 10 minutes is a long time, right?
It's a
So
scary.
I am the first responder to the threat, right? So
Mm,
as far as I see it, just my personal point of view, it's my responsibility as a husband, as a
yes.
family man, as a
Yes.
father, to stand my ground, to protect my family, right? Doing
100%.
that, obeying the law. In Germany, for example, we're not allowed to carry guns, right? So I can't carry a gun, but I can train my body. I can carry the tools I'm allowed to carry, and I can be prepared for things which hopefully will never happen. You know, but you
Mm,
have to. I think it's the responsibility we have
yes.
because the bad guy doesn't care about the law because he's carrying a fucking gun. He couldn't care less, right? Because he's the bad guy. You know. So
Mm,
by the end of the day, we as the good people, if I'm allowed to call it like that, we are always behind. Always. So at least I want to welcome the threat with open arms, if you know what I'm trying to say. You know.
yes. No, it's and these are the types of things, and this is the type of training too. Like, it's not just about using the weapon, right? Or when to deploy, how to deploy against what's energy. It's also about movement within your atmosphere, right? Because you know your house better than he does. So that's the one advantage that you have. It's even about like I think about things like if I come down my stairs, when I come down the stairs, there's a wall. I have a mirror here, but I put the mirror there for a reason. My wife is like, I don't like this mirror here. I said, I don't care. I put it there for a reason.
Right.
She says,
Right.
what's your reason? Well, so if
I hear
somebody
you.
breaks in, I come down the stairs, I can use that mirror to see around the corner.
Right.
And then she says, well, why do you think like that? I said, because I have a responsibility to.
Right.
you know
And it's starting in the normal casual things in daily life. How do you put gas in your car?
yeah,
I never face with my back. You know what I mean? My
yeah,
back
back
is
to the
always towards my car because safe spot, right? So I can see what's happening, right? Um, it starts how you turn around the corner while walking, because I can't see what is there, right? And like you said, you know your house. So at least in my world, I have played this scenario a couple of times, right? And as a matter of fact, 2 or 3 months ago, we heard something, and we were not sure if there's an intruder in our home, yes or not. So don't get me wrong. I mean, we all get this adrenaline rush, and it's not a nice situation you want to be in, right? But it was just like another day in the office, because I played this in my mind so many times. I did that so many times that it was just like, you know what you got to do, because we talk about that.
Yeah.
She
Go to
knows
the
what she got to do.
Yeah.
I know what I got to do. So we're like this little unit working together. So yeah, I strongly advise people to be open and don't run around blindfolded and think everything will be funny always, because it will not.
I think that's one.
Hopefully, and yeah,
I
please.
think that's one part of the martial arts. That's one part of martial arts that people don't really focus on. And honestly, that is the fucking. That's like preparing the meal before you enjoy the juicy
Yeah.
steak. You have to have these fucking. You have to have these things in place, because a lot of this is your prep work. A lot of this is what's gonna be the deciding factor of when shit actually happens. You know,
Yes.
like I never forget. I never forget the first time I got jumped. I never will fucking wear earphones in my ears again when I'm by myself.
Fact.
And I can tell that to somebody, but I lived through it. It traumatized me. That's a lesson fucking learned. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And these things like this, these are the because fuck. I had another time where I was in a bar or a club, and I was with a girl. It was my ex girlfriend. We were friends, and we were having a drink, waiting for other people, and this guy was being rough with this girl. He was trying to dance with this girl, and she didn't want to dance with him. And he grabbed her arm, and he was hurting her. And the girl I was with, she's like a little chihuahua. She wasn't going to do nothing, but she said something. But now the guy it looked like he was going to do something to her. And I tried to, the guy was much larger than I. So I tried to use, hey, it's okay. I got her. Yeah. What did he do? What do people do when you're in the club? They come close to talk to you so you can hear, right? So right. I didn't know shit then because I was unaware. But he came close to me, and all of a sudden I feel pressure on my neck. This fucking guy was biting my neck. And I was in shock. And I was in shock. And then, I was in shock, and then I bottled him, and whatever happened. But I remember saying to myself, like, I had to go get needles and shots, make sure I didn't have any STDs or anything like that. But fuck, I remember saying to myself, how the fuck did I let this guy bite me in my fucking neck? It's because I realized I didn't know shit.
And that's funny that you mentioned that, sir, because like, if you watch a competitive class, for example, I don't care if it's Krav Maga or any competitive system, whatever. I don't want to bash any system. Don't get me wrong. They always tell you, stay back, stand there, right? But what explained was an exact beautiful situation we all know, and which will happen like that on a daily basis. Because people don't run around and like, stop, don't move, stay there. No, we don't do that. You may be training that, but it's a silly way of training it. Because it will not work. Like you said, the guy wants to talk to you, right? Maybe he just wants to ask you for a cigarette. Maybe he wants to stab you.
Exactly.
So either way, you're in the club like, no, don't move. You don't come close to me. No, which will not happen. Or you do it like I do it. I don't go to clubs.
Well, that's, now.
Or that's now, exactly.
Yeah.
Back in the days, now, I hear you. Yeah, guilty. But the thing is that for example, when I teach knife, and people are like, no, you will never come so close to me. Oh, really?
Oh, fuck. I hate that.
Are you serious? Are you really serious? Whenever you go shopping, I'm so close to you. Whenever you, like you said, in the bar, in the club, I'm so close to you. We are always so close to each other that keeping our own bubble safe is so fucking difficult. You're always on code orange. You know what I mean? Always. You have to. Because you're scanning, you're looking, you're checking the pockets, you're checking the waistband, you're checking how the guy's moving, you're checking how tall he is. Is it one guy, two guys? You know, like do they have glasses inside the club? Do they have ashtrays? Is the ashtray out of plastic? I'm always scanning. I'm scanning 24/7, always. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah. That's a real thing.
But how you want to teach that? It's not like, oh, go away. I see the message, don't get me wrong, because you have to start somewhere and you have to make people sensitive for that situations, because hopefully it will never happen to them. But still, there's a little, you know.
Well, it's elementary, right?
Yeah.
There's elementary, and then there's secondary, and then there's, because I look at it this way. I want to defend myself from somebody like me, because if I want to fucking get you, I'm going to fucking find a way. And the thing is, the dangerous ones are they're cunning. They're cunning.
Yeah.
I never see people training martial arts against somebody who is cunning. Like,
Exactly.
If someone's standing in my face, I will spit in your face so that you do this, so that I can fucking knee you in the groin and headbutt your nose. I will ask you what time it is, so you look at your watch, so I can. If I was a bad guy, that doesn't mean I would. That doesn't mean I would do this, but I am capable of thinking it.
That's funny that you say that, because inside my Bladecraft method, I have 3 main pillars I teach. We were talking about the preventive first strike before. But the second main pillar I teach is the criminal aspect, the criminal approach towards the knife. Not because I want to make you a hooded assassin, because you know how they think, like you said, how they approach you, what they say to you, So you are prepared. You heard it before. It's not like, oh, fuck, I never knew this. I told you that, So it's very important to know how the bad guy thinks. But funny thing, the most valuable lessons you learn from the bad guys, because good guys don't know.
No, because they stick to the rules.
Because they were never in a fight. You know what I'm trying to say? I have met people, and I will never say any names, who did things which are not okay. Let's put it like this. But they taught me things, how they did it, which I never ever learned in any martial arts lesson. Because martial artists are the good guys. If you like Star Wars, let's put it like this. Martial artists are the Jedi.
Yeah,
You want to be a Sith Lord. You want to be the Sith Lord. This is what you want to be, because you have the power of the Jedi and you know the dark side. So you have this gray Jedi thing in the novels, So you have to know that. But it's not being taught, because just people like you, myself, and other people who have had this bad experience can teach you that, right?
Yeah.
So let's be honest. How many traditional guys we know who know that? Maybe they had a fight one time. They're cool. That's awesome already, because you got punched. Yeah. But all the things you mentioned, like look at the watch, throwing a tool inside the face, spitting. Back in the days when I was still smoking, I had the cigarette always like this, so I could flick it in your face.
Flick them. Yeah.
Bam! It's over. It's over.
These are things you learn on the street, right? You see, like there's a street smart as well, right? Because, and that's a thing too. And like you say, being able to be like the Jedi, but the Sith, and that's the life of a soldier and an officer, right? Because they have to be the good, but you cannot stay good when you're in the world of shit. You're gonna get some on your shoes, and that's going back. Going back to the martial arts now. This is where the discipline comes into play. Because if you're not disciplined, you'll get lost and become that which you are trying to defend yourself from. So
Right.
it's a very
Referring to you.
it's a very complex, and this is not just for martial arts, this is for everything in life, right? And
Yes,
and this is where we're at. This is where we're at nowadays. People are using, you know, fucking virtual signaling to make other people feel less than for standing up for something that is morally correct for them. Media is manipulated. Uh, Racial war, this, that, and the other. And all this is another form of warfare, right? And people are not even looking at. Then that's the other thing. We're not even talking. We were talking about mental stuff, but a lot of this shit is mentally. How do you break down your opponent, right? People should read the Art of War or the Book of Five Rings because
Yes.
you know the
Yes.
fight starts before a fist is thrown.
Long
You know what I
time
mean?
before.
Yeah, and people don't register this shit. And I remember growing up,
Yeah.
like hanging around certain kids or living in certain areas. You start to learn how to be a fucking snake. You start to learn how to maneuver. You start to learn how to be cunning. Because if you don't, you're fucking prey.
Yeah.
Now, even though I learned these
That's it.
things, I never wanted to just prey on anybody, but I needed to hang around bad guys, you know, because I was getting an education, because it would save my ass later on. You know, like I live in a building, I never get off on my fucking floor. I never got off on my floor.
Yeah.
I always got up off a floor, 2 floors above or 2 floors below, and then take the stairs. Nobody needed to know what fucking floor I lived on. If I had a friend
That's
coming
it.
over, I meet you downstairs. You might know the building, but you don't know what floor. You don't need to know what floor unless you're in my circle. And if you're in my circle, when you leave my apartment, take the stairs down 1 flight and then take the fucking elevator. Simple shit. You know what I mean? And this is a lost art.
Yes, sir.
But people are gonna have to learn that now because shit's getting worse. 100%.
Obviously.
All right, sir. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I'll tell you something. I'm gonna download this shit today, and this is gonna be out. I'm gonna try to get this out Wednesday because this is overdue.
Cool. Okay.
Listen, I thank you so much. I thank you so much for your knowledge, for your hard work, for your example, for your time, for your knowledge. I wish you nothing but the best to you, your family, and hopefully when this COVID shit ends, I get a chance to meet you and talk more.
Will be awesome, brother. Okay, thanks a lot for having me. Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Check out Thomas Holtmann, Kung Fu Dog, on Instagram, Bladecraft Method, and Scaff Deutschland, right?
Deutschland. Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. All right, man. Thank you so much. Have a great night.